I would like to announce that a quorum is present, the meeting is duly called, and a notice of the meeting has been posted in accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act. The following board members are in attendance: Catherine Sells, Dr. Buddy Bonner, Allison Lasan, Sheila Taylor, Michelle Alcateb, Dr. Stacy Barker, and Jenny Prosnick. We will now convene in a closed session as authorized by Texas Government Code Section 551, specifically 551.071, 072, 074, and 089. The time is 6 p.m. We will now reconvene into open session. The time is 7 p.m. Students from Independence Elementary will now lead us in our pledges. We have two fifth graders, Liam George and Nain Garcia Rivera.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state under God, one and indivisible.
Now if you two will join me center stage, so I can read some fun facts. Here's some fun facts about Liam. Liam has enjoyed participating in the dual language and gifted and talented programs. He is also an active member of the student council and loves helping his fellow students as a safety patrol. When he's not at school, he enjoys playing basketball, golf, flag football, and he could spend the rest of his time building Lego sports cars. You are very busy, Liam. He would love to take his love for building, understanding how things work, and creating with his hands into a career in mechanical engineering. Liam has been fortunate to have had many great teachers at Independence Elementary, but one who has stood out to him is Miss Flores, his third grade teacher. Her innovative teaching methods and kindness created an engaging learning environment that helped Liam thrive. Good job, Liam. Some fun facts about Nain. Nain enjoys playing with her friends, writing comic books, and crafting. Nain wants to be a vet and an author when she grows up. A book about animals, maybe? Her favorite teacher is her fourth grade Spanish dual language teacher, Ms. Rodriguez. Nain says she loves Ms. Rodriguez because she is nice, funny, and just plain awesome. Thank you both. Can we give them a round of applause for... Have to take a photo or it didn't happen. Next on our agenda is to consider actions on items discussed in closed session, and there are no items to be considered from closed session. Next up, we will have recognitions and student spotlights. But first, I want to recognize the amazing principals in our district. I ask that you join our Board of Trustees, district administration, students, families, and staff from across the district in showing your appreciation for our incredible LISD principals. As part of National Principals Month, which is celebrated every October, with the challenges facing public education right now, your leadership, your dedication, and your commitment to our students, staff, and the communities we serve is greatly appreciated and needed more than ever. We are fortunate to have such a tremendous group of campus leaders, many of whom are in the right, so if you see one, say thank you. Thank you so much. We appreciate all that you do each and every day in our schools.
In May, Character.org announced that McCall
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first.
It's gonna get nuts.
First an ad from Allstate.
Behind every great school, there's a dedicated principal guiding the way. Principals are the heartbeat of our schools, the leaders who inspire excellence, and the champions who believe in every student's potential. Your vision shapes the future. Your encouragement sparks success. And your unwavering commitment builds a strong, nurturing environment for all. You work tirelessly behind the scenes, ensuring that every student, teacher, and staff member has the support that they need to thrive. Thanks to you, our schools are more than just buildings. They're places where dreams are nurtured, talents are discovered, and communities come together. To all principals everywhere, thank you for making a difference every single day.
Thank you, principals.
In May, Character.org announced that McAuliffe Elementary rigorous application process and successfully passed 2 rounds of evaluation. All schools will be formally recognized at Character.org's forum this fall. Congratulations, McAuliffe Elementary. Congratulations to
Alex Kingsmiller is our PTA board member. Kylie Dotson, who was first year teacher of the year this past year. Mary Ann Eckley teaches kindergarten, and Q is a 5th grade. We have Emily Evans, our key writers for the application for the national. And we have Arnaud Van Squay, who is also one of
Hebron Valley, Hicks, Independence, Old Settlers, and Polzer Elementary Schools, Marcus 9th grade campus, and McCamey Middle School on earning an Apple Distinguished Schools designation. Thanks to the hard work of teachers and staff, LISD's digital learning and technology teams, these schools joined an esteemed group of 1,000 campuses worldwide to earn this honor. The Apple Distinguished School designation celebrates a culture of continuous innovation and is an invitation-only honor extended to campuses where leaders, teachers, and the extended community have a clear vision for how their technology-rich environments support learning goals. Lewisville ISD is proud of you. Congratulations.
There we go. All right. Thank you so much for being here, wonderful team leaders and our technology team that was part of this Distinguished Schools. We're just so proud of them and our school. Thank you so much.
right, I'm Laura Shear, the principal at Independence Elementary, and we're excited for this honor.
While the next group comes up, I want to introduce Dr. Bob Morrison. He is our Apple account manager, so he's responsible for supporting us in earning these Apple recognitions that these campuses are earning. So we're grateful for his attendance tonight.
Good evening. I'm Jessica True, principal at Marcus Ninth Grade Campus, and I just want to say thank you to this amazing staff. Obviously, not everyone could be here, but this is something that we're very proud of on our campus, and all the work that our teachers and other staff and students have put into this. We just couldn't be more proud. Thank you.
Dr. Barker will present this month's Recognize Someone.
Thank you, Madam President. A parent shared about Emily Murphy at Hebron Valley Elementary. I want to acknowledge Mrs. Murphy, who has been a guiding light in my daughter's pre-K journey thus far. Her patience and understanding have created a nurturing environment where my daughter feels safe to explore, learn, and grow. With every challenge she faces, her calm demeanor and unwavering support is helping him overcome obstacles, fostering his love for learning. My daughter is always excited to get to school to see Mrs. Murphy. I love how she communicates and collaborates with us as parents. We love her. Congrats, Mrs. Murphy. A parent shared about Leanne Jenke at Flower Mound High School. Mrs. Leanne Jenke was a blessing to have helped me apply and enroll my twins into 12th grade at Flower Mound High School. The minute she answered my first phone call, she helped me and answered every little question and concern I had. She was so pleasant to talk to and a great listener. She communicated everything very clearly in person, on the phone, and through email. Her knowledge and compassion for new students and parents and Flowermont High School was priceless. She made our transition to FMHS so pleasant. Congrats, Ms. Jenke.
Thank you, Dr. Barker. Next on the agenda is the superintendent update. Dr. Rapp.
Thank you, Madam President. It's a joy to get to always update you all on things that are happening around the Lewisville ISD community. And tonight I want to highlight just a few of the major celebrations that we have going on in our community. We're so proud of our schools that were recognized tonight, so proud of the School of Character Award, along with all of the work that went into getting the Apple Distinguished Schools. And so just thank you to the staff. Thank you for all of your hard work in earning those wonderful recognitions. And I hope that you are definitely celebrating back on campus with all of your peers that could not be here tonight. We are so proud that we had many celebrations across the district celebrating Hispanic Heritage Month. I want to say a special thank you to Alexis Miller and the team of people that she worked with, and for Lewisville High School for hosting our first ever district event for Hispanic Heritage Month. And to see our staff and our students come together and celebrate this wonderful culture was really beautiful, and we look forward to continued celebrations throughout the school year. We also know that we welcome some of our largest crowds every Friday night to our biggest classrooms that are in action, and our homecoming celebrations have really been just a testimony to bringing our community together and celebrating in our 5 wonderful feeder patterns. And then we right now, of course, have our Stuff the Pantry ongoing. Of course, as a district and a community, we typically gather over 60,000 pounds of food for food pantries in our area that help serve our community and help our food pantries make it through Thanksgiving and the winter holidays as well, and at Christmas time. And then we also have a coat drive ongoing, and so I would just encourage our community, you can help participate by donating a coat, gently used or brand new, that can be used in our Dress to Learn closet. And we're so thankful to our Council of PTAs for their Dress to Learn closet and their support of our community. We also look forward to, in November, honoring our veterans that live in our community. These are some of the pictures that we gathered together from last November, and our schools worked so very hard on the celebrations that they put together each and every year for Veterans Day, and I look forward to seeing those in action as well. We have several upcoming events throughout the rest of the month. We've got National School Bus Safety Week right now. We've got Red Ribbon Week coming up. We've got Make a Difference Day, World Occupational Therapy Day, and then Unity Day. And we know, as Dr. Barker read the Recognize Someones, that we have wonderful work going on in our school district every single day, and that our public schools are doing wonderful things, and you can join us in celebrating our educators by going to lisd.net/recognize and complimenting them. We've currently already had 2,900 Recognize Someone submitted, and students have the opportunity to submit. Dr. Fitz, you told me this year, and they are bragging on their teachers as well. So thank you so much. Early voting started as well, and I have a legislative update later in the agenda, and I look forward to talking more about our legislature later on.
Thank you, Dr. Rapp. Discussion item L2, Community Efficiency Next Steps, will be moved up on the agenda and be presented at this time. Following administration's presentation, public comments pertaining to the Community Efficiency Next Steps will be heard. Dr. Rapp.
Madam President, members of the board, we know that you heard on October the 7th the results of the community efficiency work on the efficiency assessment. And of course, that group was composed of 50 stakeholders, staff, parents, and community members, and campus leaders. It had representation from across all of our feeder patterns and campus levels. They met 6 times, and they presented their results of that efficiency analysis on the 7th of October. The efficiency framework criteria consisted of 5 different items that were looked at as a part of this efficiency work. All of that information is on our webpage, along with the data that was looked at as a part of that efficiency analysis. One of the things that we know is a complex challenge that we are facing as a district is our decline in enrollment from where we peaked in about 2015 to 2017 at 53,000. And during that time, we retired 2 schools, both at the elementary level. We retired Hedrick Elementary and Stewart's Creek Elementary. And now we are looking at a continued decline in enrollment as we will stabilize in the next 10 years at about 45,000. We know that this decline in enrollment is partly contributed in large part to the average existing home price in our community being $492,000 and lower birth rates. We're just not turning over as many homes, and we're really Lewisville, Irving, Coppell, Plano, Richardson, we were in that fast growth period in the 90s and the 2000s, and now a lot of that fast growth is moving north of us: Melissa, Anna, Prosper, Argyle, Denton, Crum, Ponder, all of the districts in that direction. On the website, on the feeder pattern charts, this data comes from those charts, and it just shows you that we have an optimal capacity in our district that would house around 62,000 seats for students. And our projected enrollment this school year is 47,617. We really are trying to climb to the budgeted projected enrollment, and we built our budget off of 48.1. We have roughly about 14,000 empty seats per feeder pattern in our school district with our enrollment decline. And really, what we're facing by feeder is most illustrated by the numbers that you see here. Our school district, our current class of 2025 across the whole district is about 4,000 students. Our current kinder for the whole entire district is about 2,700 kids. Our current first grade class is right at 3,000 kids. That kindergarten class, it will increase a little bit over time. It will tick up close to the 3,000 mark. It might get to 3,100. But it will most likely not get to 3,400 or 3,500, which is where our current 4th and 5th grade classes sit. A 2,700 size kindergarten class with the continued forecasted decline is a significant drop off for our district. And when you look at this by feeder, that's a difference between the current 12th grade class and the current kinder class of over 400 students in the Flower Mound feeder, over 300 students in the Hebron feeder, over 100 students in the Lewisville feeder, over 200 students in the Marcus feeder, and over 100 students in the Colony feeder. I mentioned that we have retired 2 elementary schools. We retired Hedrick Elementary at the end of the 2018-19 school year. The students were continued on in the Lewisville High School feeder. They went on to Vickery and Parkway Elementary and some to DeGan, and they began at those new schools in the 2019-20 school year. All staff maintained jobs, many of which followed students to their new schools as a part of that retirement. Then Stewart's Creek Elementary in the Colony feeder pattern was retired at the end of 2020-21 school year. Students continued on in the Colony feeder pattern to Etheridge and Peters Colony. All staff maintained jobs, many of those following students to their new schools. So our district is not new to the conversation of campus retirements, and we've built processes over time as we have retired these 2 schools over the last several years. We have several guiding principles aligned with our 4 cornerstones that we use when we consider retiring a school. First of all, the instructional supports and programs would follow the students to the new school, as we saw that we did when we retired Hedrick and Stewart's Creek. We would continue the supports provided from the old school to the new school. Services would follow the students to the new school. We provide opportunities for the impacted students to meet with the campus counselor and plan visits to the new campus during the spring. And we provide resources for parents to help talk to their child about these changes. We know that all staff at these schools being retired will maintain positions within our school district, just like we did with Hedrick and with Stewart's Creek. We work to allow staff to indicate preferences, and we really work to try to honor those preferences as much as possible. And we will utilize the staffing processes that we've already built from previous school retirements to place staff for any schools that are potentially retired out of this process. We work to honor the traditions and the history of the school through retirement celebrations and activities, and we work to plan events and activities to welcome and support new students and families to their new campus that they may be going to. We know that the results and considerations from the efficiency assessment presented on October the 7th had identified 10 campuses to examine for boundary adjustments, and there were 10 campuses identified to examine for school retirement consideration. As I get ready to present the next steps of where to go from here in the next phase of this process, there is no doubt in 29 years in the school district, this is absolutely one of the most difficult challenges that I believe I will see our district face. We are so proud of our feeder patterns and our schools, and contrary to the popular opinion in the media that public schools are not what a community desires, we know that our communities love their public schools. And I encourage every single one of you here tonight and everybody watching online to tell your elected officials how much you love your public schools. These are not government schools. These are the community's schools. And we're facing two very tough challenges simultaneously in this school district that some superintendents will never face at the same time in their career. That is an enrollment decline headed towards 45,000, and then a lack of increase to the basic allotment from our legislature with extraordinarily high inflationary cost. And these two challenges are huge. We know that when we're talking about the potential for retirement of schools or adjusting boundaries, that we're talking about the lives of our families and our kids and our staff, who are precious to all of us. So it is very important for me to say that we know these decisions are huge, and that is the reason that we have built in a listening phase of a process. What I am bringing forth tonight is not a decision. It is moving forward to the next phase of the process, and we know that we need our communities to attend these listening tours, as we will bring plans forward in order to help provide input and help us with the challenges that we face. The next phase of this process does not indicate a decision has been made, and no decision is being made on anything that I'm recommending until December, when the board meets and they have an opportunity to hear from all the community throughout the listening phase of this process. Not only are we so committed to the feedback from our community that we have put all the data online for people to see, and we will go out and have in-person listening tours, but there will also be an electronic feedback form. So if a family cannot attend an in-person listening tour, they still have a way to provide their feedback and input. That's how much we know that if we come together as a community to face these challenges, we can come up with solutions, and we can end up being stronger at the end of the day. So when it comes to the next steps with boundary adjustments, we're recommending that we move forward with creating plans to present for listening tours for Bluebonnet, DeGan, Old Settlers, Rockbrook, Memorial, Creek Valley, Lakeview, and Downing Middle Schools. No boundary adjustments that would be brought forward would relocate students to other districts, and plans to adjust boundaries for these schools could impact other neighboring or feeder schools, and we promise that any families impacted by any part of adjusting boundaries will be part of listening tours. At this time, we're not recommending any changes for middle schools that they would be in the form of a retirement, but that It would only be boundary adjustments considered for middle schools, as we know that it will take a little bit longer for those smaller classes of kindergarten students to matriculate up. And so we're recommending that we monitor our middle school enrollment trends over the next couple of years and report back. But at this time, we would not recommend that any middle schools be retired, but that Creek Valley, Lakeview, and Downing Middle School be considered for boundary adjustments. For school retirements, based on analysis of enrollment trends and capacity within each feeder, we're recommending moving forward with creating proposals to present for listening tours that would get feedback from each community regarding these elementary schools. In the Hebron feeder, Polzer Elementary; in the Flower Mound feeder, Garden Ridge Elementary; in the Lewisville High School feeder, Creekside Elementary; in the Marcus High School feeder, Highland Village Elementary; and in the Colony High School feeder pattern, BBO and Elementary. Again, no boundary adjustments would relocate students to other districts, and no current transfers at potential receiving schools for these campuses would be displaced as a part of this process. Remember, there will be no changes that would cause students to change feeder patterns. Whatever feeder pattern a student belongs to now, they would still belong to in the future. We are working to maintain the integrity of our current feeder patterns. So our timeline is presenting these recommendations to you this evening. Again, this is not a decision. This is simply a recommendation of where to go next in the listening phase of this process with these schools that I've brought forward tonight. We would spend all of November holding community listening tours and getting feedback from our communities, our parents, and our staff. And then we would bring all of that input forward that we all hear from those listening tours. And then I know, Board, you would be looking to make a final decision by December. And so with that recommendation, I will close and turn it back over to you, Ms. Prosnick.
Thank you so much. Public comments are next on our agenda. Those who wish to speak at a board meeting often expect a dialogue with the Board of Trustees. However, in accordance with Texas law, the board is not able to respond directly to comments or questions posed by speakers. Texas law also does not allow the board to discuss or take action on any issue presented during the public forum unless the item has already been posted for action on the meeting agenda. Included in this evening's public comments are comments pertaining to Agenda Item L2, Community Efficiency Next Steps. To our speakers on this item, I know that the thought of closure or consolidation of your child's campus may be very personal and emotional to you. We appreciate you here to share your thoughts and provide input as we have this very important decision and discussion. I ask that in making your comments, you focus on your campus only and refrain from making any disparaging or negative remarks or comparisons about other campuses in LISD. Each speaker will receive a written follow-up from the district in the next 3 business days. The board and district administration welcomes and values the feedback shared during this time of the meeting, and we are grateful for the continued partnership between LISD and the families and the communities we serve. We only have LISD stakeholders who have signed up for public comment tonight, meaning current students, parents, employees, and residents of Lewisville ISD. You will have up to 3 minutes for your presentation. First up is Matthew Enslin.
Does this work? Everybody hear me?
Yep.
All right, good deal. Sorry, first time speaking here, so I'm going to read this, make sure I don't
You're
miss
good.
anything. Good evening. My name is Matthew Enslin. I live at 525 Doubletree in Highland Village. LHS class of 99, and I have 2 kids at Highland Village Elementary. Professionally, I'm an architectural project manager for hospital additions, renovations, new builds, and sometimes teardowns throughout the U.S. Part of my job is to help existing hospitals understand the impact the potential campus changes have on the community around them. In other words, not just looking inward, but also outward. The phrase good community partners often thrown around. That's one that's not unfamiliar to the LISD. I would expect the same level of care be put into decisions so heavily impacting our kids. Of all the long-range goals the LISD advertises, only the third one, fiscal resource stewardship, is well represented in the CEC material. The second long-range goal, safe, engaging environments where students experience a sense of belonging, is among the goals not represented. Some campuses on the retirement list better embody this goal than others. Some of our schools were designed into the community around them, naturally integral to the lives of people who live near them. Residential streets don't avoid these campuses, they end at them. Campuses are highly approachable on multiple fronts. They encourage more walking, biking, increased student independence. They're more accessible to drivers, and they see less bus traffic. They foster more family time and less commute time. The community around them is brought together by them and was literally planned around being served by that school. The kids are proud of their school being the center of their community in such an important developmental time in their lives. Economic efficiency will change by the day, but what I'm describing here rarely, if ever, changes. The schools I'm describing are the hearts of their surrounding community and should be treated as such, not abandoned. Richardson, Plano, Fort Worth, San Antonio, Houston, and the list goes on. Do we want to be like them? I believe we're better than other districts in our shoes, and our decision-making process should reflect that. We have an opportunity to focus on our resources where they matter most with all of our long-range goals in mind, not just one. We should make decisions that minimize the negative impacts on our communities. We have a chance to make better decisions, economic decisions, but first in tune with our district's whole vision. Let's take advantage of that for a better path forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Henslin. Ryan Ritter.
Don't be offended. Texas underfunds everything. Those aren't my words, but those of an elected Texas representative spoken at an LISD sponsored candidate forum that I attended in person. Frankly, I am offended. I imagine that you, the members of the board, might be as well, because that elected official and the majority of the Texas legislature put y'all in an abysmal situation. A $4.5 million deficit despite your fiscal responsibility over the years with no relief in sight. Tonight, I should be volunteering as a baseball coach for my two HVE Vikings. Instead, I'm here hoping my words will save their school and, frankly, all 5 elementary schools that were on that board from retirement. I'm sure that I stand here among many other parents, teachers, and administrators doing the same for their respective schools. We're all here playing this sad version of the Hunger Games, despite the fact that Texas started the last legislative session with over $30 billion in surplus. The Texas Comptroller further states that the rainy day fund will hit its cap at the end of 2025. Despite these massive boons, our elected folks in Austin could not find a way to properly fund our schools. I've gone through the CEC's presentation, and to me, one thing is crystal clear: campus retirements will not solve this problem. This part got completely blown up by that presentation, but we'll go ahead and run with it anyway. The cost of retiring an elementary school was somewhere south of $500K. If you retire all 5 of those schools, you will only recover somewhere between $2.5 and $3 million. You're still short. The majority of all those retirement scenarios for all 5 of those elementary schools require a shuffle between multiple schools to house displaced students, and that will max the capacity for all involved campuses for the next school year. So what do we do then if another large shortfall hits? We can't play the retirement card again, because one thing missing on that chart was the further projection of district attendance. It will only decrease by just over 500 district-wide. Retirements will not address this budgetary issue that Austin caused. I am asking the board to accept this deficit, and I understand that. But these are not just words, they're backed by action. As was stated earlier, early voted open today, and I voted for candidates that were committed to solving our budget issues with long-term, full support and funding for our schools without attaching them to the voucher poison pill. These are nothing more than a perpetuation of the cycle, siphoning resources from our public schools by a different name. To all the other concerned parents, teachers, administrators, and supporters of public education in this room or watching online, I hope any outrage you feel about this situation is reflected at the ballot box. And to the board, as our elected officials, I hope you are looking for the long-term solutions and not financial duct tape. We will remember that you stood with us, that you lifted our voices to Austin, you looked for the long-term solutions. But we will also remember if you don't. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Mr. Ritter. Please. Excuse me. Jennifer Webb.
Hi.
Thank you so much for having us tonight. It was really special to celebrate Polzer winning an award tonight. My name's Jennifer Webb. I'm the proud parent of 2 students who go to Polzer Elementary. I've had the privilege to serve as a key communicator for the last several semesters, where many of you taught me how to advocate for the students of LISD. I never dreamed that I'd be up here tonight advocating for the students of Polzer to you guys. I have a lot of questions. I went through all the material. How does a school that meets 4 out of 4 key efficiencies land on the list? I just don't understand. I guess if you do some basic math, you can see that our 500 students could go other places in LISD. Luckily, we all know that math is anything but basic. As the VP membership for our PTA, we have several families who are out of district transfers. They're going to go right back to their district because they are choosing Polzer. That's money that's going to leave LISD. We have several in-district transfers that choose Polzer, and they might choose private schools or charter schools, and that's more money leaving LISD. It makes me sad to feel like we are the solution to a bigger problem that's not our own. As an engaged parent of public educated kids, I never dreamed I'd be in this position. I don't understand why closing a smaller campus is favorable to closing a bigger campus. With the declining enrollment, it seems like that would project more closures in the future. This seems like a short-term solution. As a taxpayer, I'm very frustrated that we would even consider closing a STEM school, and that my boys and I walked by and watched that beautiful playground be built all summer. What's going to happen to that? My fear is that the building that's in my neighborhood is going to turn into a charter school, and that's going to be more dollars leaving LISD. That's the problem, right? Dollars. I've had the privilege of volunteering in Polzer Elementary for the last 5 years, and it is a magical place. If you haven't experienced that and you want to jump the line on November, I'll be selling Boo Grams tomorrow morning at 7:15 a.m. You're welcome to come and join me. Last, I am a small business owner in the community. I've been a small business owner for 13 years, and when I have to make tough decisions, I think that I will never sacrifice effectiveness for efficiency. And if you guys close Polzer Elementary, you'll be sacrificing both. Thank you so much for all that you do.
Thank you, Ms. Webb.
I think that's it.
Oh. Yes, Amber Clark.
Good evening, all. Our STEM program set LSID apart in our community and provides a distinct draw for families looking for a specialized educational approach. One of the things that, especially when you compare it to the area charter schools and the public schools, I am one of those families that the STEM programs here in LSID saved and kept in LSISD. When we moved here 3 years ago, we moved into Polzer boundaries. And we came from a district that was just completely failing its students academically, and I assumed that it would be a similar situation here. When I got here, the reputation of Polzer and their STEM programs and what they were doing on that campus kept us here. And I've now just busted out another kid, so you've got 4 coming up the ranks. I think I might have one of the youngest future LISD graduates. And we're all going to be here, and it's specifically because of what is going on that campus. And I think that, and everyone I know in LSID loves their campus and their schools. However, I agree with Jenny. Pulling out a STEM school, closing Polzer affects 10% of the entire LISD STEM program. That's a program that took years in the making, and Polzer has established national recognition. Their resume of accolades is impressive. They've gotten national recognition. They've been published by the TEA. They've received recognitions here locally and in this room multiple times just this school year. On top of that, and a satisfaction rate among parents, 96% of their students say that their kids cannot wait to come to school and love being there daily. That's huge in education. And this is a checklist of every parent's dream. So it doesn't make sense to see our school on that list. I also think that when you look at the amount of transfers and things that are going on in the city, in the district, you have a high number of transfers in the district coming to STEM school, which is pointing to the fact that multiple families across the district want to be there. Additionally, we've proven at Pulsar that we're able to recapture our own, our own kind of local recapture of people leaving the district and going to the charter schools and private. We're seeing them come back because of what we're doing. And I think that as we look to absolutely address the deficit that we need to do, we must also think of what we need to do to make sure that we are engaging in the community and protecting the families that we currently have here that are already choosing to not attend their zone school, but also continue to reach out and bring back the families that that we need to support LISD. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Clark. Board, I will now call for any discussion on item L2. Dr. Barker?
Thank you, Madam President. Most everyone knows that I'm a data person, and so I look very, very closely at the data. And I know that this is a very emotional topic, and sometimes the only thing that you can do when a topic is so emotional is try to go back to the data. And so one of the things that I wanted to look at was, we saw, Dr. Rapp, you presented the empty seats by feeder pattern. And so I did some quick math. And what we're looking at is around, for each of the feeder patterns, a range of 20% to over 30% empty seats in each of those feeder patterns. And that's a proportion to, or a comparison or percentage of optimal capacity. That's not maximum capacity. That's compared to optimal capacity. So that's really hard to look at all of those empty seats and think about, are we being as efficient as we can be with our resources? And knowing that that population trend is not going to pick back up. It's a really difficult set of numbers to look at. But almost 1 out of 5 seats across our district are sitting empty. That's operational costs, that's building costs, that's staffing costs. It's a lot that we have to pick up the check for. And I wish that we had the relief that we needed from the legislature. But as you mentioned, that's not the only challenge. This decline of enrollment, these empty seats, 20% to over 30% is a lot. It's a hard set of facts that we have to continue to work with. Thank you.
Dr. Bonner?
Thank you, Ms. Prosnick. And it seems like if you all get 3 minutes, I'll just take 3 as well. Is that okay? I wanted to thank you for your input tonight and your attendance. Clearly, it's an important community matter to parents and staff and students. And I just thank you for your coming out and for sharing your thoughts. I would also encourage you to come in November to the meetings that will be housed at campuses impacted by the list you saw this evening. And additionally, there'll be some information further information available to you on the website, and also an opportunity for input. As pointed out tonight, we're charged with decision making, and we would not want to make any decision until it's been fully vetted and as much information as possible. So I appreciate the information tonight and look forward to further information in the future as we grapple with a good decision for the district. Thank you.
Anybody else? All right, well, I composed a few words. We understand how challenging this process can be, but I am proud of the transparent and the inclusive approach that we've taken as a district. Listing a campus for retirement is in no way a reflection of the work, the valuable experience, and to quote Ms. Clark, the magic that happens in those buildings daily. As we enter the next phase of our listening tours, I encourage you to participate and make your voices heard. This process began to ensure better budget control, aiming to balance our budget, strengthening our position for the future, and improve efficiency while maintaining a high-quality learning environment for both of our students and our staff. Our current situation of declining enrollment is unsustainable, especially with no legislation assistance in sight. Therefore, we must explore all of our options. I want to emphasize what Dr. Rapp said, that no final decisions have been made. I want to thank everyone who spoke tonight and for all of those of you who came out to support. We appreciate your engagement and your support during this critical time, and we look forward to hearing your perspectives and working together to navigate this process. I said it on October 7th, and I will say it again. We will emerge from this as a stronger and a more united one LISD. All right, back to the agenda. Consent items. Are there any items to be pulled, or would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Sells.
I move that the board approve the consent agenda items as recommended by administration.
Second. Ms. Lasan. All those in favor? That's unanimous, 7-0. God, there's so many pages here. Next up is information items. First on the agenda is CTE and Business Partnerships Annual Update. Ms. Gall.
Good evening, members of the board, Madam President. I'd like for Jason Cooper and Lindsay Ayers to be able to share with you tonight their annual report on how things are going with both CTE and business partnerships. So I will turn it over to Mr. Cooper.
All right. Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rapp. Thank you, President Prosnick, members of the board. Thank you for what y'all do for us. I really appreciate it. As I go back through and look at pictures of CT and things that we do in our events, y'all are always there. You always support us. You sacrifice time with your family to be at our events, and I really do appreciate that. So here's our agenda for tonight, what we'd like to cover. Reviewing back 23-24, our CCMR impact, and Career Center updates, as well as looking ahead, including some innovative courses, and then I'll turn it over to Lindsay Ayers to share about the exciting things going on in our business partnerships. So looking back at 23-24 in review, we always highlight our 2 state-of-the-art career centers because they're nice and wonderful, but I also love highlighting the amazing thing that goes on at our main high school campuses as well. Guinness Book of World Records largest homecoming mom. So, hopefully some of y'all were able to see that last fall from LHS. That was Abby Winston and her design classes. The LHS School of Real Estate, we had 7 students complete all the modules. Something we're doing this year, we are actually adding another year of content in that. So hopefully we'll be turning out licensed real estate agents to continue to send those kids out in the community to sell houses for us. The Flower Mound High School robotics teams, they're definitely no secret to success. You can see their accolades up there. They competed last month in Athens, Greece. They were 5th place out of 193 teams, so they continue to do great things. LHS Incubator, they were honored with the Grit Award with one of their students. She was one of 4 students in the country, and that was by Unchartered Learning. She received a $2,500 scholarship for that, and that's awarded to students that overcome adversity. So, and then we also had 5 LLCs formed, so 3 at LHS, 2 at the Colony High School, so those students are able to often run their own businesses. We have great CTE staff, great CTE teachers throughout the district, so I wanted to highlight some of our Teachers of the Year, new Teachers of the Year, and then some district awards as well. So some of those are listed, or all of those are listed up there. So our CTE teachers are sometimes listed as the best teacher on their campus. So we definitely take pride in that. Summer of 2024, so great things always happen on our campuses, whether it's spring, fall, or summer. So these are some of the things that we did last year. Professional learning continued with our teachers. We had the middle school culinary workshop, so instead of sending our middle school culinary instructors off to get trained by somebody else, we feel like we have the best chef in the state of Texas and with his team, so they were trained by him over the summer. We hosted the Region 11 AWS welding training, different curriculum writing sessions, robotics trainings, and we also had some summer camps. These are just a few listed up here, but I believe we had a couple more other than that. I also want to highlight the welding fire pits up there. So students who signed up for those welding camps, they got to take home a fire pit, which I believe we finally have the weather that they might be able to enjoy those now. We continued our outreach, events that continued in 23-24, the CTE Leadership Academy. So we had our second cohort last year. We actually had our third cohort tonight, a couple hours before this meeting. So we had our CTE community information sessions at the community nights, K-12 counseling partnerships that we continued, and our career days, feeder pattern nights, really everything that we can to let people know about what we do in CTE, how to advocate for CTE with their students, and to inform our parents, families, and students about what we do in LISD CTE. Obviously, there's a lot of things going on in education and a lot of changes being made. One of the things that we really want to make sure that we do is in CTE, we want to make sure we have a seat at the table. So anytime there's a committee going on, anytime there's anything that we can at the state level, at the regional level, we want to make sure we have a seat at the table. So these are some of the committees that either myself or my staff are representatives on. So we had the opportunity to host, I think it was one of 10 Program of Study student forums by TEA that was hosted at Tech West in February, where they talked to our students, and our students were honest about challenges and struggles and different things regarding programs of study. So that was definitely proud for us to be able to represent that. But like I said, anytime that we can have a seat at the table to talk about the changes that will directly impact us in LISD, we want to make sure we're there. So talking about the CCMR impact, so just a refresher, college, career, and military readiness. This is the phase-in timeline of industry-based certification completer, as well as what our graduates need in order to be considered career ready. So last year we graduated the 2024 class. This year, the 2025, they have to be a concentrator, so 2 or more courses for 2 or more credits in the same program of study. And then we're phasing in next year's graduates and beyond with being completers, 3 or more courses for 4 more credits in the same program of study, including an upper-level course. I was definitely excited when I saw the industry-based certifications numbers come through. So last year, last year's graduates and last year's students, 1,213 students earned at least 1 IBC, 579 graduating seniors. These are just last year's numbers. Over 2,600 IBCs, qualifying certifications were earned, and 146 of those were newly piloted at our main campuses. It's always been historic that we offer a lot of IBCs at our main campus, at our career centers, but this has really been an initiative of my staff and I and our main campus teachers to promote those at the main campuses as well, because we know that's where a majority of our CTE participation is going to land. You can see our IBC trends right there. So the industry-based certifications, when they really started back in 2019, and then where we are now. So from last year to this year, we nearly doubled the total number of IBCs and increased the total number of students for about 350 students. So I want to commend the staff, my CTE staff here, as well as the teachers and administrators on those campuses, because this is it's hard work to do that. It's hard work to add something to a student schedule and another certification, but our students are definitely stepping up to the challenge, and extremely proud of them and excited to see what this school year lands as well. So looking at just last year's graduates regarding industry-based certifications, 847 graduating seniors earned at least 1 in grades 9 through 12, so not including just last year, their whole 4 years in our system. 668 graduating seniors earned CCMR through that criteria, which was 1 IBC plus a 1 aligned course level 2 or higher. And then regarding CCMR, the focus, what are we doing? We don't just start this in high school. As you all know, we don't just start this their senior year. We had 4 campuses piloting the Career and College Exploration course this past year, or this year, so DeLay, Durham, Lakeview, and Lamar. And as a part of that, they really go through college options, career options, everything that we do in LISD CTE. So it really is a year-long, in-depth exploration. We got to visit some of those campuses, some of those classes last week, and the teachers are very excited about the curriculum. The students were really involved. It really has been neat being able to watch that. I love this picture to the left. Those are our middle school students hopping around on our CTE webpage and looking at our student planning guides, trying to start figuring out what are they going to do in their high school futures. So definitely appreciative of our kids going through that and our teachers that are implementing that. And then some of the things that we're continuing to do, fostering that 6 through 12 CTE alignment, evaluating opportunities for middle school entry points. That way they can start their programs of study in middle school with those 4 courses. Increasing IBC opportunities at the main campuses, collaborating with counselors, and educating our CTE teachers on their impact as well. Our Career Center updates. So our Career Center wait lists, they're continuing to grow in popularity, which is a great thing. The one thing that we do have to manage is making sure that we're doing everything that we can to open up as many seats as possible for these students. So those are the 4 wait lists right now that are more than 24 students. Obviously, health science is continuing to grow in popularity. Welding will be taken care of with the expansion over at Tech East. And those are some of the things on the right that we've been able to do this year, unique to really this year only, to minimize some of those wait list opportunities. So those are always things that we're doing, trying to make sure that we're being as efficient as possible with those staffing units and making sure that we're maximizing the seats at our career centers. So Tech West updates, we had 100% teacher retention from last year to this year, which if you know anything about those teachers over at Tech West, that's a challenge anytime you're dealing with somebody from the industry. They always have opportunities through their business partnerships to go back into the industry. So for us to retain those from one year to the other, that's a huge accomplishment. So also we have the largest fall enrollment in the history of that campus at 810. They're implementing the Micro Works Foundation work ethic curriculum for all students on campus, and they are the only high school in the state of Texas implementing that curriculum. They're for Skills USA. They had a best in show welding and a state champion in collision repair, and I know we celebrated them last May as well. And they've had a record number of IBCs once again on their campus. At Tech East, only 1 teacher vacancy in the past 2 years. That's because of a retirement, and he stayed with us as long as he could. So once again, industry professionals that we are able to keep in staff, keep on our campuses due to the culture that we have at these campuses. Largest fall enrollment as well in the history of that campus at 720. And then for some 2017 bond final project updates, I know some of this was shared last month with construction, but progress on the final project for the 2017 bond. The dental lab renovation, those are some of the pictures up there, which looks outstanding. New instructors have been hired for the dental and diesel program, and all Kubota equipment has been ordered for the diesel launch. We also are anticipating the automotive and diesel lab to be finished around spring break. Welding lab should launch next fall, and we are sending our automotive instructors to the Kubota training actually later this week. So we will be a certified Kubota partnership at that point. So looking this year and beyond, middle school tours, we changed that from 7th grade to 8th grade. The main point of that, closer to 9th grade registration, those programs a little bit more fresh on their minds, more intentional program exploration rather than just a field trip. And we are also sending communication out through communications to families on the day of the tour, because if they're anything like my kids, you don't always find out about it until a lot later down the road. This is intentional to say your student toured the career centers today. These are the programs. Here's the websites, and also inviting them to our career center community nights in the spring or this winter. And just to recall, innovative courses must be approved by the board, even if we decide not to implement them in the immediate future. So these are some courses that we are proposing for the next board meeting for them to be adopted. All of this really is proactive, allows us to be proactive and not reactive. We don't know that we would need all these courses or use all these, but we do know that we have some things in the future coming that this would make our course planning and course mapping a lot easier. Minimal cost of implementation will be insured, minimal changes to any classroom lab space, minimal effect on staffing and course loads, and appropriate alignment to program of study completion. And we'll make sure that these have sustainable interest and not just something for 1 year. So we'll have an opportunity to explore that more next month. Once again, thank you for everything that y'all do. Our staff and our students love seeing y'all at all of our CTE events and programs, and I know there's a lot of them, so I really do appreciate that. And with that, I'll turn it over to any questions prior to going to board.
Well, first of all, I really appreciate the pink tie over any orange that you wear, so there's that. Are there any questions, Board? Ms. Sells?
Can you remind me, and I did do a tour of Tech East, and it is phenomenal. And the new equipment, the new Kubota equipment, I didn't get to climb on it, but that's going to come up sometime. But can you remind us how many districts in the state of Texas have a Kubota program?
We are the first district in the state of Texas and the how many in the nation, Mr. Marino?
We are the
only one in the nation not tied to a college, community college or trade school.
Yeah, there's 5 others across the nation.
Okay, perfect. And then, and I should have asked Mr. Marino that day I was there on campus, but what is the certification for the dental assistant going to be? The dental assisting program. Do we know that yet, or are we still in that process?
There's a certified dental assistant certification, and that's the curriculum that we are implementing, and they'll be offering that as
And
a part
that
of it.
is different than the state registered dental assistant? Because the registered state dental assistant requires the x-ray. Do we have x-ray capability? No. Okay. That was my only question. Okay. So, but to get that, they could go on and probably get that certification then to become a state registered dental assistant. Okay.
Correct.
Perfect. Thank you. Oh, and do you have any events coming up? We'd like to know those.
We will put those in the board updates. I do know we have the Ag Barn Night coming up in November 7th, I believe. November 7th, that night. So come on out and see the pigs.
Perfect.
Ms. Lasan?
Thank you. I get real excited about this presentation every year. It's been fun to watch. When I joined the board in 2018, there was a lot more wait lists, and I think it's kind of cool actually that we're getting wait lists, and I think it's that you're anticipating them because I'm thinking that these things are getting so popular and the word is getting out about really what a good deal it is. And I love it when I run into kids who are, doing the firefighter program or what have you. Anyway, just kudos on all that. And I also wanted to comment on the middle school tour changes. I love that we're doing that. I went as a chaperone 2 years ago, I guess, and so, and it's awesome, but, these kids, they have a lot on their little minds, and so I love that we're doing this, and I love that you're sending out communication telling parents that that's where they went today, because that is just really super helpful. I also want to put it out in the world. I've been saying this, the board has heard me say this. If anybody knows Mike Rowe, that's listening or watching or whatever, he needs to come and visit.
We're working on that.
You are? Okay,
We're
good,
trying.
because, we have been brainstorming, contacts that we have. But anyway, I first noticed your two principals back there, but then seeing this picture, I think you've got some more of your staff back there holding down the back row. And so I'm glad that y'all are here and you've got two fantastic principals back there. I also wanted to say, to give you a little kudos, because you just glossed right over this, but you were Administrator of the Year last year, and so you just glossed right over that slide, and I just wanted to, point that out, and you guys are doing a great job, and we're just super, I'm so proud, and I know we all share this opinion, that we have such a great opportunities for kids, and I know this counseling is part of this. I mean, y'all are all part of this, but that for kids who aren't college bound or who just don't want, just want to do something different, and I love being able to show this off and talk about this, and we're just so proud of the work y'all do. So thank you.
Thank you.
Dr. Barker?
While Ms. Lasan was talking, I felt like I had to share a story of a student that we interacted with. So a few of us were at a colony football game, and we got to talking to a student who is in one of the programs at Tech East. And she got to talking about a particular assignment that she got from within her program at Tech East. And she was just beaming and talking about how this assignment was showing her what she wanted to do in the future and what route she needed to take to get there. Because she was a student who had this career path but wanted to transform it into going on to college and then advancing that even further, right? So it's not just those kids, and this is what I love about it too, is that it's for kids that want to jump into a career, but it's also for kids that are using that as leverage to what they might want to go into college for. And to see a student talk about an assignment like that, that's why we do what we do. That's why the teachers are getting Teacher of the Year. That's why you're getting Administrator of the Year, because of the work that happens in those classrooms. So thank you for the work that you do, and thank you to all of your team and all of your teachers.
Dr. Bonner?
Thank you, Ms. Prosnick. Mike Rowe's great, but more Jeff Wagley. That's all I'm going to say back there. You know what I'm talking about, and tell him thank you next time you see him. The other thing that I want to say, just for perspective, I'm 57 years old, and I went to Trinity Valley Community College from 1985 to 1987. Go Cardinals. You're wondering where this is going, but I had occasion to drive to Athens last several months, and I thought, man, I wonder what campus is like. And here's what campus is like. In the middle, academic buildings, around the core, all your CTE stuff. Just like it was a long time ago, 40 years ago. Oh, my gosh. So the reason I'm bringing that up, we've talked a lot about schools tonight. And what I would just offer is we have schools that offer the absolute best in what they do, which is all of them we talked about and our career centers. And our kids don't have to drive 30, 40 miles to get there. They have it right in their backyard. And you all do a fantastic job, and I'm proud of everything you do and all the enthusiasm and energy you bring to it. So thank you very much.
Ms. Sells?
I just wanted to remind everybody that as proud as we are of these programs, and we are extremely proud of them, they teach reading, writing, and arithmetic in a different way, in a real-life way. And we are charged by the state to do this. This is something that we're graded on. And so if we're graded on it, we want our students to have the best of what they have. And it provides opportunities. And I will tell you all that little girl that most of us saw this weekend that was at the colony that starred in Mamma Mia as Donna, she was a culinary student last year at Tech West and served us when we ate at Cafe 3040. So for a student to have an opportunity to explore two very different paths in one school district is phenomenal. And so just wanted to let our public know that this isn't just fluff we're offering. This is stuff we are charged to provide for our students for their future. And it's something that we take very seriously and that we want to provide for them. So thank you for letting me rebuttal.
I will just add that I love seeing the students, and I love seeing the stoles at graduation. And the stoles at graduation are for those who have, of course, gotten their IBC, which is a test that's taken by anybody in the state to receive that certificate. You don't have to be 18 to take it. You can be 25. You can be 30. But it is that same certificate, and it is a proud moment for me as a board member to offer those kinds of opportunities. And one of the ways that we're able to offer those opportunities is through our two through our two tech centers, where we draw students from all 5 of our high schools. So that is a way to efficiently be able to provide programs for students so that they can matriculate on through and still have their campus experience as well. So thank you so much. And once again, like the pink tie over the orange tie.
Appreciate that. And I'll turn this over to Lindsay Ayers.
All right, good evening, board. Good evening, Dr. Rapp. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to share with you tonight how I have been connecting businesses to LASD classrooms and helping prepare the future workforce. And while I sit on the CTE team, I do have the honor of supporting all 69 campuses in the work that I do. Here's our agenda for the evening. We'll look at our year-end numbers. We'll go over the various programs that I support, and then we'll look ahead to this year. What I'll be reporting on next year. All right, our overview for the evening. This graph is familiar to you. We've seen this similar report year after year, but the main thing I want to point out in tonight's presentation is that jump in connections to classroom learning. Our connections to classroom learning are mentors, classroom speakers, career day speakers. It does not include any site visits that we go on. So it's really those main 3 categories. So if I were to tell you why there's such a significant jump, it's because of our increased partnership with our STEM programming, the middle school STEM programs, the Wonder Wagon. We were able to get quite a few corporate partners to come alongside and volunteer in that capacity. I had the pleasure of helping start a mentorship program out at the Colony High School, as well as continue to support the mentorship programs happening at Marcus 9 for their AVID, and then also just increased awareness among teachers and visibility of my role in the district. So I'm really proud of that connection to classroom learning number. And as we look at how that broke down across our classrooms, you'll see a lot of support went to CTE, where our teachers naturally think about those classroom connections, but our general support of just a classroom teacher not in the CTE program, I have the pleasure of supporting those teachers as well. When they ask me for a speaker, we track that data. And then also our STEM programming, that does include our Wonder Wagon, our STEM campus support, and secondary STEM support. You'll see our career out numbers on the screen in front of you. Our host site seems like it went down just a tick last year. I'll tell you, I don't actually think that's the case, mainly because one of our municipalities, as opposed to breaking out by multiple departments, where the previous year they had 8 or 9 offerings, this year they only offered 1, and they did a city overview as opposed to those departmental offerings. So I do think our host sites really did hold steady, but our students participating and going out on site and exploring careers did jump. And then we do survey the students and businesses after that career out job shadowing event. And for those who aren't familiar with our program, that is a 1-day, 3-hour job shadowing event. This past year, it was on February the 29th on Leap Day, so we got to help students leap into what their future careers might be. And I'm very proud to say that program is offered to all juniors and seniors at all 5 high schools. So we're really pushing through the partnerships department the opportunity to explore careers, whether you're sitting in an AP class or whether you can fit some of these amazing career and technical education classes into your schedule. We're trying to support that career effort across the board. I do want to highlight DACU Credit Union coming on as our title sponsor of the program. We're grateful for their support, and we were able to do our laptop scholarship again this year, where 3 of our students who attended Career Out who needed technology support for their next step, we were able to award 3 laptops to those students. You'll see some of our classroom connections, again, with 300 in that number. This is not an exhaustive list, but I wanted to highlight some of the new and exciting ones. You'll see our Hebron feeder pattern on the screen in front of you. We had, I believe, 8 different panel presentations to our business students about how to succeed in the business world, how to make your resume stand out, what does a resume look like for a high school student, how do you get yourself in front of an employer to get a job, how to interview. So really fantastic connections there for our business students. And then Lurch Bates became one of our new corporate partners for the Tech East Architecture program. I'll mention the hydroponic gardens we got to work with for secondary science. That was an exciting classroom connection that came on last year. And then you also see campuses like Bluebonnet on the screen, just to highlight the connection at the elementary level all the way up to our high school level. You'll see on the screen we did continue that partnership with Dell. They offer 2 different presentations to our campuses that are interested, to our classrooms that want to have them in virtually. We handle these presentations. Historically, they've been all virtual, and what happens is that they'll have 2 main presenters, and then students get to break off into small groups with a one-on-one Dell employee to learn about what that specific employee does. So we had 170 students impacted last year. We were able to expand this program to our Avid classes at Marcus High School, which was very exciting. Just really grateful to Dell and their partnership. They offer an engineering careers presentation and also an advanced technology presentation. We continued on with site visits and getting students out, talking to businesses, learning about businesses. These are always career-focused visits when I am connecting classrooms to an industry for a site visit. So I do want to highlight the interior design students from Flower Mound High School got to go out to NFM, and their major takeaway was that the technology, the software that the interior designers at Nebraska Furniture Mart used is the exact same technology that they were using in their classroom. So that was a fantastic partnership for those students to see that in action. We were able to partner with Inspira, a cybersecurity company out in Westlake, and our cyber students got to go have a hands-on half-day workshop with the employees, do some activities, and get feedback. They were on the spot presenting solutions to the employees that work there, and then that turned into a summer opportunity, which I'll tell you about in a couple of slides. We also had Creation Technologies come on as a new partner for our Tech East engineering students. If you're not familiar with them, they're out in the Plano area, and they do chip manufacturing. So our engineering students got to go see that facility. Our Junior Leadership Flower Mound program had its second cohort of students. We had 35 students invited. 32 of them did complete the program, which means that they met all of the graduation requirements. We do have graduation requirements for those students for them to get that certificate and say that they completed the program. The topics that we go over are on the screen in front of you. This program does sit outside of the school day. We meet once a month from 4:30 to 6:30 in the evening. And because of this partnership with the town of Flower Mound, with the Flower Mound Chamber of Commerce, and supported by the Texas Trust Gives Foundation, we were able to actually meet 3 new business partners this past year. So that was very exciting to open the door to 3 local businesses that I previously did not have connections with. Our STEM middle schools, just a huge shout out to Ann Crosby and her work there. She makes this process so easy to help know what speakers would be good. So when I'm reaching out either through the Volley system or finding speakers to help enhance student learning, she just makes it really clear what exactly those speakers would need to know, what they would need to talk about. So you'll see some of our examples on the screen. Some of these have carried on year to year, and then you'll see new ones that happened just last year. The food scientist, the drone expert, having CoServe come in, those were all new last year. And then you'll also see we had our STEM question challenge with Stryker continued, and the 3 students that were at the top of the Stryker list of 17, the top 3 and their parents, got to go visit Stryker, have a tour, and then they had their designs combined. Just like collaboration in the real world, they got to put on those virtual reality goggles and see the operating room that they designed come to life. So very exciting, and we're grateful to Stryker for that. Tech Titans, I'm thrilled to tell you, I know you know this, but just a shout out to Casey McCluskey for being the High School Tech Titan of the Year. He won that award and got to represent LISD in a huge ballroom in front of 300 plus high-tech companies in the North Texas region. So we're very, very proud of him receiving that honor. We did continue, again, a lot of the same programming because it works, because it's impacting our students. Our 9th grade Women in STEM event continues to be very popular, so we've kept that going. But we also had some new events. Corvo opened its doors to both students and teachers. We had a professional learning event at Corvo this past year. And then Erickson was a new site host that came on thanks to our partnership with Tech Titans. And then that did turn into a summer opportunity, which I'll get to right now, actually. So our job board for LISD students, if a business is looking to hire, the job board is open year-round. That is both for high school jobs and for internships. If a business is looking to hire, they can go to lisd.net/studentjobs, get that opportunity posted, and start looking to hire our students. We do have a job fair that happens usually at the beginning of May, and you'll see a photo of that on the screen, but also on the screen is Sam's Club, who came to me with the opportunity of internships for our students. They offered specific internships wanting us to help find the students that would be the right fit. And then for those students that did end up getting hired, if they wanted to continue on working part-time or full-time, they are able to get a 4-year degree through Sam's Club. It's all online and it's through one of the Sam's Club partners, but it's just an incredible opportunity for our students who might not be able to pay for college on their own. Great opportunity. We do have one student at Marcus High School that I'm aware of that is continuing on from her internship over the summer. She is working at Sam's Club and she's still enrolled with us as a senior. So very exciting program for our students. We hope to continue that this coming summer. And then Tech Titans approached wanting to do some summer programming. This is one of my favorite partnerships because they were able to open the door at Erickson, a high-tech company where historically we're not able to get interns in those doors. We had 8 students go out and intern at Erickson over the summer. It was short term, but our students got to be on site working with Erickson employees, actually turning in deliverables, and then they got paid through Tech Titans. So fantastic opportunity. A shout out to the Lewisville ISD Education Foundation for helping make that payment happen. They received the money from Tech Titans so we could pass it to students in an appropriate manner. As they cannot cut checks to students, they were able to find a solution where we could get them paid. Inspira, the cybersecurity company I mentioned earlier, they took 2 of our students for 2 weeks over the summer. So just incredible opportunities for our students to get in the door of some places where we probably wouldn't outside of that Tech Titans support. And then on our volley update, you'll see our volunteer number is back to our pre-pandemic level with volunteer hours logged in the volley system. We're really proud of that. Over 60,000 volunteers. This is a real-time screenshot, so that was taken at the time that this presentation was created. We also were honored with the Tammy Richards Impact Award, and just for Lewisville ISD to receive this award for our use of the volley system, to get recognized in that way, was a great honor, and I want to thank all of our campuses for their volley use, administration for supporting that program, because we all know that when our classroom teachers come to one person, that list could be exhausted quickly, except for this powerful technology. So very grateful for what Volley does to support classroom learning in our school district. As we look ahead, I'm continuing to support the incubator programs with their board, with their sponsorships, with their mentors, continuing our STEM support. One of my favorite opportunities is finding those STEM speakers. And then career out date has been set, February 27th of 2025. Our business registration will open early December for that program. But please, anyone interested in hosting students for job shadowing, go ahead and mark that date down. And then you'll see we've started our 3rd year of junior leadership. And again, that job board is open year-round. So I'm happy to connect with any businesses wanting to work with LISD. We're grateful for those who currently do. And I'm happy to entertain any questions. Thank you so much.
Dr. Barker.
Thank you, Madam President. Not for this presentation, but I'd be very curious in the future. I love your data, and I love how we're seeing some of those trends come back. I would love to see it by feeder pattern so that we can see, are we underrepresented in any of those feeder patterns, and that may open up some areas for us to move into.
Are you asking for anything specific there, Dr. Barker? Are you thinking of career out, or are you thinking of classroom connections? What?
I'm thinking mainly that data that has your classroom connections and your site visits and that data.
Okay.
I just think it would be really interesting and may open up some gaps that we aren't seeing currently.
Yeah.
Ms. Taylor.
Madam President, first of all, thank you for the presentation. I just heard such wonderful things as a businesswoman myself. I heard a lot about connections, which is one of our 4 cornerstones: connections to the classroom, connections with business partners, connecting students to opportunities outside of the classroom, and was just excited to hear that. I saw, and maybe this is probably my question, is the incubator program only at LHS and TCHS?
Yes, ma'am.
Are there plans to expand it at all to the other campuses?
We had explored that in the past. I don't believe there is a current plan for that. When we did explore that, we were looking for kind of overwhelming community support that the program would be successful, because it does require such a heavy investment of both dollars and community members in the classroom. We really saw that happen out in the colony. So obviously the Lewisville High School program started first, and then the Colony High School program came after that. I don't think it's off the table in the future. I think our priorities at the moment perhaps are not aligning there, but if that is something that you all would like for me to explore, I'm certainly happy to.
Ms. Sells.
And I guess to that question, what was the contribution, especially out in the colony, because that's the one where we saw them actually come to us and want that program? Can you talk a little bit about, when you talk about that community input, what that actually looked like?
Absolutely. We held interest meetings. Gosh, I believe it was back in 2018 or 2019. I don't remember the exact date. I could get it to you. But we had over 50 people in the room when we held our interest meeting for the Colonies program. We had council members specifically out at the City of the Colony advocating for the program. I think for about 2 years, every meeting I went to, there were specific council people asking us to bring that program there, understanding the benefit of entrepreneurship, really wanting to see that at their high school. And then they came alongside with dollars really quickly. We've received grants year after year from the City of the Colony. The Economic Development Corporation came on last year with a sponsorship. We had multiple businesses come forward. So I'd be happy to share those specific dollars by email if that's something that y'all would be interested in seeing. But those sponsorships and grants have come back year after year. I will also thank Mary Kay for their continued support, and the City of Lewisville for continuing to sponsor the Lewisville High School program. That's been a really unique program where they've been supportive, they continue to be supportive, but the Colony really came asking us for that program, and not just with their voices, it was with their people, with their advocacy, and with their dollars. We did hold interest meetings in Flower Mound, and the Flower Mound community, they're wildly supportive of what we do. If we had said we're putting a program there, I believe they would support it. But what we were comparing was the community coming and saying, we want it, we're fighting for it, versus up to you. If you do it, we'll support it. So that's really, I believe, how that decision ultimately was made. I wasn't in all the rooms where the decision-making happened, so that's my understanding.
Well, anybody else? There's no doubt that if you want to get involved with our students, that you can. And the opportunities lie right there at partnerships@lisd.net. I thank you very much for your work and making sure that our students are connected with industry professionals, and right down to our kindergartners on career day and being able to hear from firefighters, et cetera. So I thank you so much for your work on this.
Thank you, Madam
Thank you. Next on the agenda is the monthly technology report. Mr. Colbeck.
Thank you, Madam President. In Board Book is the monthly technology report. The data for the report is ending August 31st, so this would be our first month where students are back, at least for part of the month. Our 2017 bond balance is essentially the same. Our revenue is up slightly for I-fees, obviously, as students are coming back to school forms are open, trying to have our insurance fees paid, so that was up slightly with a balance of $2.35 million. I do want to point out on the age of devices, you'll see grades 4 through 12, essentially at that four-year mark. Our future reports are going to start ticking down. The deployments that you've read about in the weekly newsletter would not have been in that August data yet. Turning the page, I want to point out a couple items. One is our broadband at home percentage is down slightly, and I was thinking about that and thinking about what could impact that, and a couple things have come to mind. I just want to call out attention. The emergency connectivity program that funded hotspots and access, that program, the funding for that ended, and so did our ability to provide hotspots to families that requested it. In addition, in June of 2024, the Affordable Connectivity Program, which is a federal program to provide subsidized low-cost internet access, and I think there was around 23 million Americans that had signed up for that. That program ended over the summer. So it's something to keep an eye on. Obviously, it's still quite high at 89%, but it's probably 4%, 5% lower than what we had been seeing prior to that. In addition to that, you'll notice our device on campus average is at 82%. In August, we're certainly ramping up as students are coming back and trying to get devices handed out. Students are also, especially at the elementary level, going through their digital citizenship courses, so I'm not totally surprised, but it is lower than what we were trending obviously in April and May of last year. Our total bandwidth usage is running very similar to what it was in 22-23 as well as 23-24. And also I want to call out our total bandwidth. We're cruising right around 95% of total bandwidth being in the education category. That is very likely a result, and it's higher than what we've seen in the past as we've been tightening up our filters, adding more policy changes that we've talked about and implemented with back to school. I think that's driving that number up slightly. So with that, if you have any questions, I will ask or answer them.
Ms. Sells?
I was just wondering if we have what is our plan to identify those students who are losing home connectivity?
Yeah,
or do we? I mean,
we did. In our back to school forum, we did continue asking the question, even though we didn't have a solution for it. And we did that for a couple of reasons. One is, even when the pandemic hit, that was something that we needed to respond to, even to provide to get funding. So having that information is something good to have. If some other programming comes available that we could, provide funding, we still want to have that answer versus trying to kind of respond to it if it comes up. That said, I will say, and I've said this before, it's kind of an oxymoron question if you're asking to fill out an online form if you don't have online access, right? But we also do try to support campuses to fill out essentially forms on paper where we can then enter that back into Skyward. We have open labs with our back-to-school nights where we're trying to provide access to come in and fill out the forms even if you don't have access. So I think it is a representation of those that filled out the forms.
Thank you very much, Mr. Colbeck. Next up would have been item L2, which we have already addressed. Oh, I'm sorry, discussion items. I completely forgot you, Mr. Rare. It's the most important event of the evening, our monthly financial report.
Thank you. The monthly financial report begins on page 112 of your board book, and these are financial results as of August 31st. And I did want to highlight that these are unaudited results. Our auditors, Whitley Penn, just completed their field testing last Friday, and so they'll spend the next month finalizing testing, preparing a draft of our audit, and then eventually they'll have the final ACFR ready for presentation at the December 9th board meeting. And so at that time, we'll have the finalized results for fiscal year 24.
Are there any questions? I very much look forward to the fully audited report. Next up, class size waivers. Ms. Cobb.
Good evening, Madam President, Board of Trustees, and Dr. Rapp. It's the time of the year where we talk about class size waivers. So just a little bit of background that we provide. Okay, just a little background. The Texas Education Agency requires school districts to conduct a class size enrollment survey for our classes from pre-K through 4th grade, and we must submit a request for exceptions for anyone that exceeds the class size of 22 students per teacher. Results of our survey this year at this time are we have 16 campuses with 33 classes exceeding 22 to 1. You can see on this slide, here's our historical data going all the way back to 2013. You can see we've started out at 62. That year, that 2021 year, we jumped up to 121. That was due to COVID and virtual learning. And then over the last couple of years, we have kind of stayed steady with the 25 and 29 last year. This slide is a little bit busy, but it is important. These are all of the campuses that we have right now that are over 22 to 1. The difference between the blue and the gold. The blue are gen ed classrooms. The gold are bilingual or dual language classrooms. So again, we do have several campuses that have more than one waiver. If approved as required by this process, the campus will provide the written notice for the state-granted exception to parents no later than 31 days from the approval date. And I want to spend the next couple of slides just talking to you a little bit about why we have the increase in the number of waivers. It's going to lend itself to the common thread and the common theme that you've heard tonight as we've talked about several other things. But this is requested in large part due to the teacher shortage across the state of Texas and the country. So focusing on elementary only, because that's where we're talking about class size waivers, in elementary, the national and Texas teacher shortage are in the areas of special education and bilingual and ESL. Of the 10, while 10 of the requested waivers do fall into the bilingual ESL category, the remaining 23, as I said earlier, are gen ed. A lot of that is really having to do with the difficulty of finding highly qualified or certified gen ed teachers. If you recall, a couple of years ago, the governor did put together a teacher vacancy task force. One of the things that they identified to help with the retention of teachers and finding qualified teachers was to increase the basic allotment to address teacher compensation. As we've talked about in many meetings, including tonight, that has not happened. So that does kind of lend itself to the Texas teacher shortage. This slide just really wanted to put it out there because it really gives you a picture of the requirements of what's required to be a teacher, an elementary teacher in the state of Texas. The first one up there is a gen ed teacher. And I'm not going to go through every one of them, but they have about 4 to 5 exams they have to take. Plus, if you're a K through 3 teacher, you're going to have to participate in the Reading Academy as well. And they're outlined there. A bilingual teacher is going to have at least 5 exams and the Reading Academy on top of that. So just throwing this out there, before you can even become certified in the state of Texas, each exam costs $116 per exam. What I didn't put on here, it's going to cost them $78 on top of that to apply to get their certificate once they pass. They get 5 attempts per exam to be successful. If they're unsuccessful on one exam, they have to wait 30 days. They have to pay an additional $116 to retest, and they only get 5 exams. If they're unsuccessful after that 5th exam, you have to apply for a waiver, which TEA, it's not an easy process. It is very rarely given, and then that requires an additional fee and extended timeline. So just kind of wanted to throw that out there to give you some context as to how difficult it is to become a certified teacher in the state of Texas. So it's lengthy, it's expensive. We couple that with rising cost, inflation, lack of funding by our legislature. That has impacted our district's efforts, my team's efforts to recruit and retain teachers who serve in these areas. And not just the shortage areas, but I'm also going to say in creating a qualified pool of gen ed teachers as well, but especially through qualified special ed teachers and bilingual teachers. Those are extremely limited anyways, and that is a direct impact to our classroom sizes and our request for waivers. So with that, I'll take any questions you may have.
Dr. Bonner.
Dr. Rapp, have we considered making elementary class size K4 a DOI, District of Innovation targeted item?
No, we have not come after the DOI plan recently. Of course, Dr. Miller leads the group that meets about the DOI plan, and at the board's discretion, we can convene the DOI committee to talk about anything you would want us to do.
The next time that comes around, we might think about that, really. I mean, I hate standing up here saying that, but 22-1, if you bumped it up to, say, 24-1, not to exceed 24-1, otherwise then we'd send a waiver out, right? You're looking at about an 8 or a 9% decrease in personnel costs at those grade levels, so it might be worth looking at. I've got a picture in my house from College Street in about 1963. There's 30 kids in that classroom. Now, has education changed since then? Absolutely it has. But it just might be something worth talking through, considering, vetting, etc.
There are definitely districts that have included that in their DOI plan, and as a result, by comparison, we would look like we have more waivers because we have the 22-1 in place and are filing waivers, whereas if they have done something different with DOI, they're not having to file those.
And I'm talking about writing it in such a way to move the cap from 22 to 24. Anything after that, we would provide notice and all the other things.
Dr. Barker.
I'm going to share another story because I'm into stories tonight, incidentally. But so I was one of those teachers who had to look at paying for all of these exams. And here's the rub. I wasn't a baby teacher. I was coming from out of state that didn't have an agreement with the state of Texas.
Me too.
With a master's degree in education.
Me too.
And certification from New York State, right? Several of us. So then you come into the state of Texas, and there are some exceptions. There's exceptions for military families and some other things which are really great, and I'm really glad that those exist. But you come into the state, and you can't get a job. And because you can't get a job, you can't pay for the tests. And because you can't pay for the tests, you can't get a job. So what ends up happening, or at least what ended up happening for me, is you look for a way to get a job without a certification. Where do you go? We heard talk about charter schools before. Where do those teachers go? Where did I go? I went to a charter school because I could teach, to do what I went to college for, what I had a master's degree in, so that I could get $35,000 a year at a charter school and then be able to pay for the tests. So that cycle creates a pool of teachers for a different set of circumstances. And it's very hard for us to bring those teachers in. So that's my story for the evening. Thank you for humoring me.
Ms. Taylor.
More of a comment. I'm looking at these qualifications or certification requirements, and I am blown away. Just the cost of the exams, how many exams you have to take. This is, I think back to the CPA exam that I took that was nowhere near this cost. It might have been maybe $100 or whatever at the time. It was reimbursed by the employer. So I'm just flabbergasted about these requirements. My question is Texas different than the other states? Like, is this the average, or is this, I'm blown away. That's all I have.
I'm going to go on record saying it's not the average. I, too, was also an out-of-state candidate. So my first 8 years were in a different state. And so I had to go through all of this. And when you come from out of state, you also pay an additional fee for your out-of-state credential review. And none of that is reimbursed. I didn't say this, I could talk about this forever, but I won't. I do need to share that if you're an alt-cert candidate, there's additional fees on top of that. It is quite expensive, and imagine a baby teacher just coming out of college and not having the money to pay for that.
Well, I did the math. $970.
Yes, ma'am.
Not including any extras in that.
That's if you're successful the first time.
Yeah. I guess I want to remind everyone that we didn't give our teachers a raise this year because we were facing such a budget crisis. And I think it is all tied together, everything that we've talked about tonight. Nothing sits in isolation from our Community Efficiency Committee, their report, to the report on classroom waivers. It's all tied together. And I think that, to Dr. Bonner's point, you certainly have to look at all different opportunities and ways of addressing a problem. But I guess I would say that I think classroom size matters. And it was one of the reasons that as a board we identified Title I schools as really, really trying to target them as to not having any waivers. And I know we have some on tonight. Because we can't tax teachers more than we're already taxing them. I think what's missing from your list in some ways is what we ask teachers to do every day. And while it might seem easy to add 2 or 3 or 4 students, I think in some classrooms that's really multiplying and stressing on what you're asking one person to do. It doesn't mean it shouldn't be looked at, but I do question whether that is a path to go down, that to look at parents and say, well, larger class sizes are the ways to go, when every bit of research that I've ever read or seen has said a smaller teacher-to-student ratio, and something that we brag about in this district when we get up to our secondary, is what is most impactful. Now, of course, it's not most impactful in some classes. I mean, I don't think you need 10 kids in choir. But I do think that when we talk about elementary and foundational learning, that there is great benefit to smaller class sizes. I will also say we're looking, when we look at this number of classes, we're looking at less than 0.03% of our classrooms in the district. And so I think we are doing a good job of trying to keep that ratio down across the district. So thank you very much, Ms. Cobb. Moving on, external PE update. Ms. Gall.
Great. Next up, we have Trish Kuckler and Deborah McDonald, who will share their annual report on external PE.
Thank you, Dr. Rapp, Madam President, and member of the boards. I'm Trish Kuckler, and I have the distinct privilege of working alongside Deborah McDonald in our external PE program. And if you recall, our external PE program offers students the opportunity to acquire their PE credits through the sports that they are passionate about. And so when I look at the four cornerstones, I do feel like external PE touches on all four of them. But when I look closer at our student learning, I really see that engaging students through relevant instruction and meeting individual needs is really the heart of what external PE is about. We are fortunate to work in a district that supports this program. It meets a variety of student needs and allows our students that are heavily involved with sports to continue to pursue their passion and be enrolled in this district. And we'd be remiss if we didn't take a minute to thank you for the support that you have given this program.
Reviewing the 23-24 numbers for the 23-24 school year, we had a total of 413 students that participated, 88 of them being high school students, and we had 325 middle school students. We did add boxing as a level 2 sport, and so if you will recall, we have two different levels of participation in external PE. So we have level 1, and that's where a student participates 15 hours or more a week, 5 days minimum, and they do get a class period off. And then we have level 2, which is 5-hour minimum, and they go 3 days. They have to participate 3 days. They do not get a class period off for that. Okay? And so last year, we had 57 students. That's okay. We had 57 students. So we divided them up in high school and middle school. And so level 1, we had 57 students, and middle school 145. Level 2, we had 31 high school students and 108 of the middle school. Yeah. So right now we offer about 16 activities throughout the program, with dance and gymnastics still being the most popular. So really we are so thankful for the community involvement and support, as we have about 200 facilities and instructors working with our students, making this program so successful.
And then you might recall that last year we did a cost analysis, and we compared our district to like districts and like programs. And so this December, we will make a decision on whether the registration costs will go up or not, and then communicate that with our parents for the 25-26 school year. Thank you very much for your time.
Any comments or questions? Dr. Barker.
This is a program that my daughter benefited greatly from, because she's a competitive swimmer, and so she participated in external PE during middle school, and is very prepared for her high school swimming. One thing that I did notice, though, is that I've encountered a number of parents who don't know about this program, and so I'm just curious about how we can further spread the news that this is a program that exists. One of the things that I was thinking about is maybe with some of the programs that we're already partnering with external PE. So I'm thinking about like the club that my daughter swims with. If there might be some opportunities there for them to share that communication for students that are in LISD. You know, you're getting your 5 hours, 3 days a week. You can apply for external PE through LISD. So that, just some thinking through some possibilities of how we can spread the love of external PE, because it was so beneficial to my child.
Well, Ms. McDonald, my husband would be very upset with me if I didn't once again thank you for your time when he was in charge of external PE for lacrosse in the Hebron feeder pattern. So thank you so much for your presentation. Next up, the Student Health Advisory Council, SHAC, the annual update. Ms. Gall.
So Ms. Kuckler will stay at the podium and join Ms. Vincelette and Manya Crow, who help us to lead this committee.
Good evening to the pinked out Madam President, board members, and the leadership team. Thank you for your support of Breast Cancer Awareness Month. It means a lot to us. So anyways, moving on to the SHAC portion. So the purpose of the SHAC is to make sure that community values are echoed in our health and wellness curriculum. Part of the membership is we have to make sure that we have diverse representation, which Trish, myself, and our parent co-chair, we make sure that we have diverse occupations, interests, and that we have representation throughout the 5 feeder patterns. The state does require a SHAC, and they do require you to appoint our membership, which is later on tonight, and I hope it's one of your easiest votes tonight. Majority of our members must be parents, especially the voting members. We do have a long list of membership that if you notice, they'll be denoted by who votes and who doesn't, because we do require quite a few experts in the field to be on board to help the SHAC navigate that.
Right, and last year we did hold 4 meetings and we had 2 subcommittee groups, and one of those was about increasing physical activity during the elementary school day. And the outcome of that was we created new guidelines for indoor recess along with resources for teachers. And we also created a brand new 3rd through 5th grade brain breaks for our students.
Evening. So our next subcommittee was a charge from the state on educating kids on the dangers of fentanyl poisoning. While we do use the One Pill Kills curriculum for TEA, not to be we don't ever do anything halfway, so we decided that this subcommittee wanted to see additional education for our students and not just siloed to October. And so we are now also using, with y'all's approval, the DEA Dead on Arrival for grades 6 through 12, and that will happen in the spring to continue to keep that topic at the forefront.
Education is really important, and I'm going to remind you, the SHAC recommends, you guys approve, and then we implement. So all the departments that are part of this are pretty dedicated to communicating with our parents, giving them the information they need to make informed consents, which starts in our back-to-school forms. There's other formats that we have to adopt to as well, including elementary growth and development. That's a little bit different for them, but we are all very aware of how much parents need when they're making these decisions, and try to be as transparent and clear as possible and answer questions. And in my opinion, we go above and beyond what the state requires us to do in our efforts to make sure that they are informed.
All right, and then this year we will have a minimum of 4 meetings, and we will be focusing on technology guidelines for K through 8 students. And then I just wanted to review quickly our already SHAC-approved programs, our 21-day challenge. We had over 3,000 students participate last year and over 1,600 employees. We have our Kids Heart Challenge, which our campus has raised over $200,000. And along with that, we have partnered with the local fire departments to teach every 5th grade student NLISD CPR. And thank you again for your time.
Thank you so much for your work on the SHAC. Are there any comments or questions? We're so lucky to have all 3 of you. Thank you. Next up, preparation for the 89th legislative session. Dr. Rapp.
Madam President, members of the board, I think there are a few important things, especially in light of the topics we've had tonight, to be able to touch on. I wanted to be sure that all of you knew that the Senate State Affairs Committee met on October 17th, and they started talking about the interim charge related to the impact of social media use on children. So as you heard from the SHAC regarding their upcoming topics on technology use, we expect that this will be a robust topic during the upcoming legislative session. And again, maybe we'll get a preview of what they're thinking when bills start to be filed coming up. The Senate Finance Committee met on October the 9th, and they listened to presentations from the LBB and the TEA. And Commissioner Morath reported on the 72% increase in the number of students receiving special ed services since 2014-15. Let's take that in for a second. 72% increase, and he acknowledged that there are funding issues within the current system, which I would say is a gross understatement, given that the presentation that was provided going into the 88th, the report on special education funding indicates it's billions of dollars underfunded in the state of Texas. And of course, school districts are also dealing with the increasing cost of SPED, the loss of SHARs, and the intensity of services. They did also discuss, it says robustly, the attendance-based funding model versus the enrollment-based system. And this is interesting. While they acknowledge the value in accounting for students who may not be present every day, some members felt schools need an incentive to ensure students are in school. I don't know about you, but I find that rather insulting to think that we must be monetarily incentivized to ensure that children come to school to learn, which is in fact our primary mission. So I find that very concerning, given that what we heard tonight, even with the Community Efficiency Committee, we have to build a school district to support 47,000 students, but we're only funded on the percentage of them that actually show up every day. So we're already behind the eight ball from a funding perspective, and we haven't even opened the doors yet every day. Morath noted that a 1% drop in average daily attendance that school districts have experienced in recent years has led to roughly a $380 million shortfall for school districts. And so, speaking of the governor's teacher vacancy task force, the commissioner is implementing House Bill 1605, passed by the legislature, to address what they are trying to do in terms of high-quality math and elementary reading instructional materials. And, of course, they're incentivizing districts to adopt these materials, which will be under the name of Bluebonnet Learning in the state of Texas. And, my concern about that is they put money into materials before they put money into teachers, which that should have happened through the basic allotment. So. State enrollment trends during the September 26th joint meeting of the Ways and Means and Property Tax Relief. Commissioner Morath, he's been busy. That's what I am taking away. I put these slides together, and then now as I'm sitting here, I'm like, he's had a lot of presentations to make to all of these different committees. So even though the comptroller has said we have 1,200 new residents a day in the state of Texas, they're not really coming with children. Think about that in light of what we presented this evening. The total number of 4-year-olds system-wide, according to the state demographer, is about 40,000 kids fewer than just a few years ago. So there's a decline in birth rates, and obviously this is going to start working it through its public education system in Texas. So not only are we having these conversations, but these are the same conversations being had at the state level too. There are a couple of groups who have recently adopted legislative priorities for the 89th session. The Texas School Coalition, number 1, invest in the basic allotment. North Texas Commission, support restoring public school funding to levels established by House Bill 3 in 2019 when accounting for inflation. And of course, they put some interesting wording around their oppose that public education funds should not be transferred to non-public education entities. So really trying to state that public education funds should be protected. Early voting has started. It runs from October 21st to November 1st. And of course, we continue to have on our website all of the information that we put out last year to the elected officials. I am glad that more of our community is engaging in a conversation around funding for public education. And frankly, when you go back to what the board's priorities were in the 85th legislative session, it was increase the basic allotment. And we are still here, now about to enter the 89th session, and the Teacher Vacancy Task Force has said it. Every entity that is adopting priorities around public education is saying it. I do not know how many more people can say you need to invest in Texas schools and in Texas teachers, and the basic allotment is the means by which to do that. If the legislature does not like that, then they need to create a new school finance formula, but stop putting money in these specialized allotments, stop putting money in other things that are not teachers, counselors, nurses, librarians, child nutrition workers, counselor, all the things. Stop it and increase the basic allotment or create a new formula. And that is my legislative update.
Any comments or Dr. Barker?
I just have a question. Do you think, or is there information around that dramatic increase in special education? Do you feel like a large part of that is coming from the move of dyslexia into special education, and that was a state law that forced us to do that? Is that correct?
It is. I think that is some of it, absolutely. And then I think there are, we see increasing needs of kids across multiple types of identification areas, but I do believe the dyslexia services are a part of that, and that would completely be in an unfunded mandate as well.
Thank you. That was where I was going.
Well, I would be remiss if I did not remind you that $3.9 billion is being held hostage down in Austin. It was allocated in the budget that the Texas legislature is required to pass before Sinai Day, but they made no movement in distributing it to ISDs and to classrooms where it should be. It sits at about that would right there, if you divide it by the number of children in public education in the state, it would be a $700 increase in the basic allotment right there. So, legislature, I've gotten you halfway there just to catch up with inflation. So, you can come up with the rest. Next up is district-wide intruder detection audit report findings. Dr. Rapp.
It's
and
time
your
for
sidekick, Mr. Garrett,
to come back to the mic these next several months of school and report on the intruder detection audits. Thank you, Mr. Garrett, for your work.
Thank you, and good evening to you all. We have received intruder detection audits from the TEA in the month of September, and we expect these throughout the rest every month of the school year. 8 schools were visited, and they were Downing Middle School, Forestwood Middle School, Heritage Elementary School, Homestead Elementary School, Lakeview Middle School, McAuliffe Elementary, Bridlewood Elementary, and Timber Creek Elementary with no findings. We have received audits already, so we'll report the rest of those in the month of November for this month we're in right now. So with that, any questions?
Any comments or questions? Thank you very much, Mr. Garrett. Moving on to our action items. Consider approval of the School Health Advisory SHAC membership. We had our presentation earlier, so
We have presented to you the members, the new membership that we're requesting for approval tonight. So with your blessing, we can move forward on those meetings.
would someone like to make a motion?
I would, Madam President. I move that the board approve the School Health Advisory Council membership as provided by administration.
Second, Ms. Alcatab. All those in favor? Vote carries 7-0. Next up is consider approval of class size waivers. Ms. Cobb, do you have anything to add?
I do not. You heard our presentation today. We just ask for your approval.
Would someone like to make a motion? Dr. Bonner.
I move the board approve the class size waivers as presented by administration.
Is there a second? Ms. Taylor? All those in favor? Vote carries 7-0. Consider approval of resolution regarding support of accountability lawsuit. Dr. Rapp.
Yes, Madam President. This resolution simply brings forward supporting those districts who are engaging in litigation. We are not saying you all are engaging in the litigation, but you're supportive of the school districts that are challenging the TEA A to F accountability system, and we've outlined the reasons for that support in the resolution.
Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Sells.
I move that the board approve the resolution regarding supporting litigation against the TEA challenging the A to F accountability system and STAR.
Is there a second? Ms. Lasan. All those in favor? That's 6. Opposed? Abstention. Thank you, Dr. Barker. Vote carries 6 with 1 abstention. Next up, consider approval of resolution regarding TASB transition to the EdFi 4.0 data standards. Dr. Rapp.
Yes, Madam President. We talked about this at the work session, that we have significant concerns about TEA's handling of the transition to the EdFi 4.0 data standards. We've made those concerns noted directly to the commissioner and are working with other superintendents and other school districts, but we bring this resolution forward so that you as a board can also express your serious concerns about this transition and how it's being handled.
Would someone like to make a motion? Ms. Alcatab.
I move that the board approve the resolution regarding the TEA TSDS EdFi transition.
Is there a second? Ms. Taylor? All those in favor? That's 6. Opposed? Abstention. Thank you, Dr. Barker. If there is no further business, this meeting is adjourned, and the time is 9:12 p.m. Have a pleasant evening.